Happy Thursday! Seems so funny to say happy Thursday. I'm usually saying happy Wednesday, and sorry about that on yesterday. I was really looking forward to coming and talking to you about this topic of blending households. I'm Nancy Yonner. I am with Love to List and Keller Williams Realty, coming to you from the heart of my home, and where I love to come in and pop in and check in and provide a little bit of real estate, a little bit of health, a little bit of home. And oh, hey Karen, it was so great talking to you earlier today. So fun to catch up. You are amazing. Anyways, so I come to you, I talk a little bit of real estate sometimes a little bit of health, sometimes home, always wanting to support our local businesses. Speaking of, Karen Grafton is one of my go-to lenders. She is fantastic, her and her team. So anyways, I'm doing a 3-part series, and last week we talked about, people who are like 60 plus, how they make their lifestyle decisions, when they make them, why they make them, and we had a little discussion about that. And this week is all about blending families, okay? Or blending households, I should say, because it's blending places, people, and based on my experience and what I'm seeing that's happening, some trends, this is becoming more and more of a trend. Of course, we've seen it with, as people are living a lot longer, people have a lot of multi-generational homes, which is what I live in. There is another thing that I see happening though that I'm going to share with you. So blending households, and then also I want to talk to you about like 5 key discussion points that I think you should have if you're blending a household. So let me give you some examples of blending households. You can take me, for instance, my husband and myself. We have our home here, and my mother-in-law, it's her sweater in honor of her, who lives with us, came and joined us. So that's one way to blend households. Another way to do it is if the adult parents live in their home and maybe an adult kid, oh hey Deb, will come and live in the parents' home. So, they allow the parents to age in place. So that's 2 scenarios of like a multi-generational home. You also have this situation where you can have 2, you have the adult kids and the older parents both sell their home and then move in and buy a new home together. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that. That's really important when I talk about some of the key discussion points, okay? So another way that people blend households is, I have 2 friends that are 2 people that I know that are doing this. They're actual friends. They're not related to each other, and they were both single women, and they blended their household. They bought a household together, and they actually bought a house with one of them with an unfinished basement. And then when they finished the basement, made a basement apartment so that they could rent out the lower level. The 2 women bought the home together. They share expenses in the upper 2 levels of the home, and they're making an income with the rental down below. So that is really a creative way to go about blending a household. And that's what I wanted to tell you. We often think it's because of aging population. What I am starting to see some trends is it's a way for people to save money and join forces with the way the economy is going. I am seeing a trend in that regard. So it's kind of interesting. And then the last scenario, you could have something like, instead of both families selling their properties, maybe someone keeps their property and rents it out so that they can have income, and then that other person goes joins the other family. So I think there's more than even what I've said to slice this, but it's really important when you're blending families, for whatever reason, of the 5 that I just gave you, that you talk about these 5 discussion points, and there may be more. But the things that came to my mind, well, first of all, you have to have, before you have the discussion points, you have to have really good communication. You have to have a lot of clarity. And you have to be willing to have what I call carefrontation. Of course, you care for each other. You have to be able to have the hard conversations. And so, especially if it's a situation where maybe someone doesn't have as many capabilities, physically, emotionally, mentally. So there's so much that goes into it. In an ideal world, of course, we want to have these proactive discussions and make a plan, right? That's an ideal world. However, it doesn't always happen that way, right? So it's not something that we planned out for Minnie to come live with us. And we just happen to have the ideal home, and we love having her. She used to stay with us for long periods of time. And she really started to stay with us like after she had a stroke many years ago. But she's doing really well, all things considered. She is doing really good. So, but that wasn't necessarily planned. And I thinking back and dealing with some of my clients and their experiences, this is the reason why this was on my heart to come and talk to you, because it's so important to discuss some of these things. So the areas that I'm talking about are, first of all, responsibilities, like who's doing the cooking, who's doing the cleaning, who is doing the chores, the trash, the inside, outside, right? So I think areas of responsibility is really important. Hey, Mom. I got my two favorite people on. So responsibilities is very important. Also boundaries, because I think it's important that people have a space to go of their own. It's also equally important to understand the combined shared spaces. What does that really look like? Are two people going to have their own kitchen tables? Do they have their meals, separately, or are they coming together in the kitchen every night sharing meal? So boundaries, I think, is really important. Even things like noise in the household and sharing of the TVs. If someone really wants to watch sports and then the other person wants to watch a cooking show, how do you navigate that? So boundaries. Finances, of course, is really key. And who's going to pay for what? And I think a lot of times, like let's say you have a family of 4, and then you have the 2 aging parents, that, is it 50-50 for groceries and utilities and shared expenses of the home, or is it 60-40? What does that look like? So I think that's important. Also, a caveat to that is how if you do the example that I shared with you, where each person sells their house and they choose to buy together, how do you take title to that property, I think is really important. And I have a really great estate attorney to refer. If you are interested, please send me a message. I'd love to be able to get her into you if you have a need to have this type of discussion, because talking about each person's heritage, what they're going to leave to anybody, their inheritance. And which brings me to another area that is important to talk about, and that is considering other family members. Like if you have a scenario where you've got one family, adult family, and you've got the aging parents here, and this family is taking care of this family, or these parents, like, what are the consideration of all the family members? And do the people get paid that are taking care of the parents? Or maybe they're really independent right now, but they end up not being. And then you have to consider that too. So you have to consider the entire package, all the family members, the future. And that's why I'm thinking too, you need a contingency plan. You need to really sit there and think, what if scenario, because we automatically think that the older people are going to pass away first, and that's not necessarily the case. So you really need to play out the what if scenarios. So if you think about responsibilities, boundaries, finances, contingency plans, and consider other family members, and get professional advice. Your realtor can help you. I would love to help you. If you're going through something like this, it can help you navigate, point you in the right direction, get you to the good resources. blending households can be a little complicated, especially if you don't think these things through and you don't have good communication or clarity and don't really know how to carefront, which to me is like talking hard subjects. So, and you can't do it soon enough. So, if you want, you should always be as proactive as possible. So I hope that you found this helpful. I really enjoy having a multi-generational home, and I know my sister actually helps my mom in the wintertime. So she goes up in the winter and stays with my mom, who lives alone, and so that's another type of blended family, and that just kind of happened. Wasn't planned, but they've really navigated it very well. I don't know if they need to have any further discussions about their living situation. You guys can talk to me about it, okay? I can do some consulting for you. So anyways, that's it. So that's part 2 of this series. And next week I am actually talking about caregiving and giving you some tips and tricks and some learning lessons about caregiving. I know I watched my mom and she was like the best caregiver ever. So anyhow, and before I go, because I told you I was honoring my mother-in-law because we're talking about blending households, I wanted to give you a quick tip. One of the things that we do in our household here is something that my mother-in-law has done forever and a day. And if you have mint planted, which mint is great and so fragrant outside, and it's a great. Oh, hey Sally, you'll have to start over because it was a good topic today. I'm sure you could share some good insight. But anyways, one of the things that my mother-in-law has always done is she's picked the mint out of the yard and she dries it. And so we constantly have mint here in our kitchen. It always smells so good. And then we put it in these little jars. And then when people come, we'll give them their mint. So anyways, maybe Deborah, since you're the mint on the pillow, you should do that. But anyways, mint is a great thing to grow and dry out, and it smells so good. And we cook with it quite a bit. And so I thought I'd throw that in there too. So Sally, I hope you're doing well and enjoying your area of the world. I'm glad that you're safe because you're in Florida. And so thanks for popping on and joining me today. And next week, again, I'm talking about caregiving and tips and tricks and lessons learned. And meanwhile, thumbs up, lots of love, and keep smiling. Okay, see you next week on Wednesday, not Thursday. Oh, that's so good, Sally. Bye.